and I started doing just a little walk around, and I don't know, I'm just feeling encouraged to share a couple of plant tips and some things that I'm doing with the weather changing. As more people start coming into the room, please ask whatever questions you have. If you want to see certain plants, I'll definitely show that to you as well. But let's go ahead and get into some of the plant care tips that I've been doing. Definitely with this weather changing right now, I'm experiencing 42-degree weather. I just had like 65-degree and 75-degree weather last week. So that up and down shift is definitely already, if you haven't, you definitely want to have your indoor plants inside the house again and off of the steps. Unfortunately, I took my cruton, put it outside, left it out overnight, and now the plant is half its size. But you know what? I spoke that into existence. I kept on saying I wasn't going to be able to care for that plant, and look what happened. So, tip one, definitely get your plants from outside inside because they shouldn't be out there anymore. But if they are, let's bring them on in. Number two, be mindful of where you have your plants sitting at. If you have your plants that are around windows, make sure your window sills aren't letting in any type of air, or that your windows actually closed and not cracked a little bit. Or if you have them by doors. Now, some plants, depending on what kind of plants they are, they do not like those drafts coming in and out, and they will start to show. Mine usually show with the leaves will be like very droopy, but the soil is still very moist, like cold, because the weather's coming in, the plant isn't absorbing anything, it doesn't have that sunlight coming in that it's used to, so you will typically have some problems. Now, another thing that I typically do is pull the plants just a little bit from the window. Usually I try to have my plants propped right up against to get as much light as I can. But just to make sure that I don't have as much light and to allow the grow lights to be able to wrap around and get in, I'll usually move the plants around just a little bit. As far as in here in the plant room, I don't adjust anything because everything is still on this time grow light. Everything still gets the same window. The only thing that's changing in here is just the temperature by a little bit. Now, I will say this is getting close to the time that I will start running a humidifier if the air continues to be this dry. Now, I only run a humidifier for about 30 minutes to an hour every other day, maybe twice a week. Now, be careful when it comes to your humidifier because you can really do some damages in your house because that humidifier release off all that steam, and with moisture you could really just cause some type of wall damage, floor damage, etc. One of the things that you don't want to do, don't fertilize your plants right now. It's perfectly fine to continue feeding your plants, but I would even say go ahead and reduce a little bit of that. Everything slows down, guys. It's not hot like it used to be, so your plants is not taking that sun and going through that water as fast as it used to. So please slow down when it comes to your watering. You do not want your plants to have root rot. Second, another thing is you don't want to be cutting and propagating anything because the more you propagate, the more things you have to attend to, you have to focus to. And I wouldn't recommend that you have a whole bunch of little cuttings going around in just a crazy type of climate. That's pretty much it on as far as what I've been doing. If something don't need to be cut, don't cut. This is the time that you also want to focus on what are some things that you can do better as the summer and the spring starts to come around for next year. Listen, don't go all crazy and start buying all these plants. And the reason why I say that is because especially buying plants offline, they have to travel. And unless you live in an area in which the condition is warm all year round, you don't want your plants, especially most of the time they're smaller plants, to be traveling in this cold weather because they get to you already holding on for dear life. And then you can give it all the care that you need and it still not turn out right. And it'll make you feel like you don't know what you're doing. And that might deter you from continuing to go on. And we don't want those problems, right? Uh, you all drop me some questions down there at the bottom because I feel like I done rambled on enough to tell you some of the stuff that you might need to know. Let's see if we have anything. Nothing yet. Nothing yet. Well, since we are here, let's go ahead and talk about this Signonium right here. I'm gonna go ahead and do a repot on her. I don't think this is enough room. So what we're gonna do is I'm gonna go get a table And we could put right here and you can see how I do my repots in live. All right, go. All right, so this right here is a Signonium. It's a confetti in here, and that's because of the pink that's inside of here, and a Signonium white butterfly, also known as the arrowheads. Now, when it comes to the type of soil that we're going to use, we're definitely going to go with what I use in almost every mix, and that is a nice airy mix. So let me show you. All right, so in here, what we have some perlite, orchid bark, indoor pot mix, and a little bit of horticulture charcoal. I use this mix on almost every single plant. If it's a plant that doesn't use this mix, most of the time I don't have it or I pass up on it. So that's the mix that we're going to be using for this plant. The next thing that we need to take a look at is the pot. Just because you have a plant that's in a pot, it doesn't mean when you repot it that it's outgrowing it. It could be for several reasons. Maybe the soil that you put in there was bad. Maybe the plant just isn't performing the way you want it to perform. So you don't necessarily have to upgrade your pot. Now, the reason why I like clear pots is because of this. You can see the roots in here at the bottom. You see them forming? Although these roots are starting to form at the bottom of the pot, I don't see any roots that are all around the pot, which tells me that this plant is not outgrowing the pot. And when I do the repot, I'm gonna place her right back in the same exact pot. I'm just gonna make sure these roots that are at the bottom are now gonna be positioned up here. So let's get it. First thing, you get you something to be able to catch your soil or your dirt in. Now, I would recommend you use a repotting mat. It's a whole lot easier. I'm trying to make sure we're positioned in a way so that you can see it. A repotting mat makes everything a whole lot easier and you don't have to worry about cleaning up the junk and the mess. Since I'm just using this little bit of table, it's not wide enough, it's gonna fall off and it's gonna cause more problems than what it's actually worth. So, first thing you do is you wanna squeeze the bottom of this plant. The reason why you squeeze it, because you want to make sure you break up anything that you have going on. Now what we're going to do is slowly get this plant out. Now, you're going to start to see what I'm talking about. You see how this plant is not all rooted all the way around? It's just a little bit. I'm sorry, I just saw something pop up on the screen. Let me get to you before I go. We said, I have one of those, this climbing plant. No wonder why my, yeah. Okay, so Signoniums, they are vining plants. I didn't know anything about it, but they are. So if I was to take mine off of here, which I can, it's fine. You're gonna see how mine is gonna go everywhere like spaghetti too. See, it goes everywhere because they're just vining plants. Now, if you put them on something like your a trailing moss pole or something like this, as long as you keep this moist, you are going to be able to allow these area roots that are on the back of this plant to grow in there, and then you can do a whole nother cutting from that plant. Now let's go ahead and squeeze and get a little bit of this off. Now, if this was a very mature plant, I would not be squeezing and breaking up the bottom because I wouldn't want to stress this plant out. But this plant is young, so we're good to go. Now this actually is a pretty decent soil that's inside of here, so I don't have to change this out either. That's another thing. If I had just bought this plant from a nursery or a big box store or anywhere, and I inspected the soil and I saw that it wasn't a really good mix, first thing I would do is immediately change a lot of it out. But remember, depending on your plant is what kind of soil you use. Signoniums love to retain a little bit more moisture in their soil. Not soggy, okay? Just a little bit more wet than what our philodendrons and our pothos like to sit in. More so philodendrons and monsteras. So now what I'm gonna do is take a little bit of my mix that I have here. I'll slide over so we can see the little bit of mix that I have here, and I'm gonna go ahead and put it down here at the bottom. Then I'm gonna mix some of the mix that I just had to come out of here. Reason why is that this one right here is has less airy mix in here, which is gonna allow it to retain more moisture than my dry one over here. Now, we're gonna drop it and we're gonna put it in here. You see how everything is even? I'm positioning it so that the top of this plant is gonna come right at the top where I get ready to put the soil in, okay? I'm gonna take a little bit out. Now, I need to repot my other plant right here. Remember, I'm gonna put these two together. So, sometimes straight out of water to soil can stress a plant out depending on what kind of plant it is. Luckily for me, these are Syngoniums, and Syngoniums aren't the type of plants to get stressed out. Now, I'm going to turn it all the same direction. Unfortunately, I am going to lose this little leaf right here, but this leaf was down here at the bottom in the water anyway, and it doesn't really matter. Let's make sure we get all these roots in here. Now that the roots are in here, I'm going to go ahead and start building back around. Now, remember what I said, I wouldn't do any type of repots that I don't have to do, but I also don't hold off on repotting the plant until summer or spring. That's crazy. Now, if a plant needs to be repotted, you go ahead and do what you need to do. I'm just saying, don't just decide that because it's December, you bored, you just want to repot everything in your room. It could be some problems. Okay. Now, I'm putting my chunky mix around here a little bit more so it's a little bit more stable. Now, the next thing that I need to do is add in my moss pole back here. Now, the reason why I built this around first with the soil before I did the moss pole is because I want to make sure that those roots are able to have as much room as they need down here. Because this moss pole, well, not moss pole, or this device that I'm using to hold it on, it doesn't require a whole lot of space. Now, we're going to go ahead and lock this in. Now, these Velcros right here, I talk about it all the time. You can get these from Amazon. They are really good. You can use them over and over and over again. And they're like, I think like $9 for a roll. Now, we're going to come through here and just swift around. Build back in. Make sure we're full. Now, one of the things that you want to do after you do it, your repot, is you want to squeeze or hit a tapping motion just to make sure all the soil has gone around these roots. Now, if you have a clear pot like this though, you don't have to worry about playing the guessing game because you could turn around and you could just look inside the pot and see that the plant is good. Now, I do have a little bit of problem with getting these to sit up straight because I don't want to stab it all the way in and risk breaking and damaging my roots. Now, I could have started from the bottom and put them down there, but again, I didn't want it to take root space. And I also want to get as much length out of this pole as possible, because if I was to put this halfway down here, this pole will only go up here and the plant will be over top of it. So let me show you what we're working with. Okay. Simple, simple, simple repot. Fast and done. Now, the only thing that's left for me to do here is to water this plant. Now, what do I use when I do watering? I do Super Thrive and water. See, we got some chats. I don't want to miss on anything. Good morning, good morning. Hope you're doing well. Let's see here. Now it seems like what I'm looking for I can't find, and I really want to be able to show you all what I use when I'm using the Super Thrive. Yeah. All right, and I do not know where I put this stuff at, guys. I'm looking all over for it. I repotted or rewatered a plant yesterday, my monsteras, and I don't know exactly where I must have put it. So we are gonna have to find that, but in the meantime, let's talk a little bit about my Godinia. You all remember it was about 2 weeks ago I dropped this plant, and this is the outcome of it. It still has a little bend right here, but the plant is still doing good, still healthy with a little bend. Okay. And we also have a new little growth part right here where the plant's gonna push out a new leaf. All right. Well, I'm still stuck here looking for my Super Thrive because that's going to bother me if I can't find it. But as you all have questions, just put them down in here. We're going to find this, though. It's in this room somewhere. All right, you all want to take a look at the Monstera collection while we're still looking to find? I don't know where I could have put that at. I really don't. Moving too fast, probably. I'm going to put it right here, though. We're not going to forget the water. Don't forget. All right, so what kind of... Yeah, I am. Thank you for letting them know. I'm looking for my Super Thrive, guys. We just did a repotting, and I want to be able to show you what I use when I water this plant, and I don't know where I put the Super Thrive at, and that is really bothering me. I was watering my Monsteras 2 days ago. They wasn't looking the best of health. We can go take a look at it. Let's go. Yeah, they wasn't looking the very best. And I found the Super Thrive. We over here. Okay, so let's take a look at my Escaletos. All right, so these are my Escaletos. Now, over there is a fern that my Oma gave to me. It probably needs some water, which is why it's yellowing. But last year over the winter time, the fall and winter, it did some yellowing and it came back. I probably need to change the pot because the pot's very small. Okay, so these are my Escaletos. Let's turn. There you go. And so you can see this one right here. Now I did some repotting on these plants about 4 months ago. So it's been an adjustment, and you could tell as this plant is naked, these are all the leaves that I lost in between. I don't like to cut my plants unless I really have to. Now, we could talk more about the Escaleto some other time, but this is what we hear, and this is what I need. So let's go. Now, that Synonym that you saw me repotted, here go the big one. So this is my Synonym that I keep out here in the living room. So you can take my advice on it if you want to. It's up to you, but these are the things that I've been doing, and it's been working. Now, my jade pothos right here is probably one of the most easiest going plants ever. And this right here is the Cruton I was telling y'all about that I accidentally set her outside and I lost half of her leaves. But other than that, she seems to be doing okay. Now, I also have a tree philodendron out here too. Here we go. See if I can get her turned so you all can take a look at this one too. She's an absolute beast. Now, I bought that one from a big box store too. That's the thing. Sometimes you buy plants from the big box store, they won't tell you exactly what kind of plant it is. And you just have to figure it out as the time goes. All right, let's get back on here. Uh-oh, don't let that close. Sorry, guys. All right, so here we go. So now, I'm gonna use the same water that this plant has been growing in because the water is fine. Super Thrive. This is what I use when I'm doing a repot. Now, I've been watching a lot of videos and so forth. This right here, I'm glad you asked. What do I use to help it grow? Right here. Super Thrive and feeding your plants. Right here. Boom. Okay. Now you can get any type of plant food you want to, but this right here, I need to start getting paid for this stuff. I've been using this stuff for 2 or 3 years. And every time I tag the person in it, they never say anything about it, but I know I'm single-handedly making them some sales. But that's some really good stuff to use, guys. Ever since I've been using it for my plants, it's been a difference between night and day. So Super Thrive. We use Super Thrive anytime we do any type of repotting. Now, it helps alleviate a lot of the stress that comes with the plant on repotting. So, you just take you a little bit, very little bit, put it in here, boom. Get your watering tray. I used to make big messes on forgetting to get the watering tray. Now, when you water your plant should go from the top to the bottom of the water, okay? So here we go. This is how you make sure that your plant isn't going to experience like a dry space inside of it. All the way around. Okay. And that's why it's important to have a good, fast draining pot as well, because this is going to allow the water to go from the top to bottom at a pretty decent speed. And if I want to, I can allow this plant to sit here for the next 10 or 15 minutes like I will do to just ensure that it absorbs what it needs. Swap out the bottom tray. Don't let it sit in there, because if you do, you're going to come back to root rot and you'll be good to go. And this is it, guys. The hardest thing I have to do, I actually am going to get another tie and put this plant up here, because this will make it look a little bit better and allow more gaps so that sunlight can hit it. The only thing I have to do now is just put this plant into its new place, because up there at the top is not what it's going to do or where it's going to go. I think I saw a few comments on here. Make sure I answer any questions, and then I'm going to get ready to hop off. I have the mine as little. Okay. Sweet. Oh, you have to buy it. Now, anything that I recommend or anything that I said, they're really, really easy going. Cactus. Now, the only cactus I have is, I don't know the name of it, but it's a fishbone something right here. I couldn't tell you. I'm not a big fan of cactuses. I just never got into it. I do see some beautiful cactus out here. I just never have gotten into actually caring for them. So this right here was given to me as a gift about 4 weeks ago. It might be 3-4 months ago. I want to say 3 weeks ago. But yeah, she told me just to water it when it dries, so we're going to see. All right. I hope you have a good afternoon. Thanks for hopping on here and talking to me. I'm trying to figure out this whole live thing. You know, I really appreciate having the engagement. So you take care. I am going to do my best to be as routine as possible. All right, guys. Anybody else have any questions or comments? If not, then I'm going to go ahead and hop off of here. And this is one of these pots that don't have no holes at the bottom. I'm just going to guesstimate. All right. Well, we have no questions, no comments. I'm going to go ahead and hop off here. If you all do come up with some questions after you watch this video, put them down at the bottom, and then we're going to go ahead and attack those as soon as we start our next live. Y'all take care.